Sorry, girl.
That's okay. Hi, my name is Emily, and today I'm interviewing Shauna, who's a caregiver to both her mother and father. They both live with a chronic illness. Before we begin, I just want to confirm that I have your verbal consent to record this video and to submit it to my professor.
You do.
Great. Okay, so let's begin by talking about the context of your parents' illness. How long have your parents been living with dementia, and how long have you been their caregiver for?
My dad has probably been living with dementia about 9 years, and they have been living with me for about 8 years, or I should say I've been caring for them for about 8 years of that journey.
Yeah. All right, so during the time that your parents have had dementia, there's been a little bit of changes and progress in their illness. So during the time of the progression of their illness, have there been any physical challenges involved that have been posed onto you or to them?
Absolutely. As my parents' health has declined and the dementia has progressed, they both have lost some mobility. But particularly with my father, it's become challenging lately because he can no longer walk or stand. So what I once was able to do by myself, now I can't. It's just too physically demanding. So I do have to rely on supports like lift chairs and lift beds. And now I need to get assistance from workers to help me transition him from bed to the toilet to his chair, things like that.
Right.
And it's very hard on both of us. So after every transition, I always say to my father, that was so hard, but we did it.
Yeah. So during the care that you've given to your parents, have you noticed that your social life has changed, or your life in general has been impacted because you have to give so much of your time to your parents?
Yes, considerably. Honestly, my social life is essentially non-existent right now, and my personal relationships are on hold. But honestly, my friends and my family all understand the commitment that I have right now. So just those quick little touches, whether it be through email or a text, is sufficient. But the reality is that my social life right now is those caregivers for my parents. So whether it be the nurses, the PSWs, or even residents where they are right now. So I have a new social circle.
Yeah. And obviously you spend a lot of time navigating the care system, and there's obviously really good things about the care system, but also really poor things. So is there something about the care system that you have noticed in your navigation of it that's been really good?
Absolutely. I can think of two specific examples if I can. Firstly, the care system has educated me. When managing my father at home, he began to present with some aggression. And honestly, I really didn't know how to manage that. And I can think back to a nurse practitioner at St. Mary's Hospital, and she helped to educate me. She would send me information. She would be there on the phone if I needed her, just to give me tips and tricks of how to manage and cope with Dad's aggression.
Yeah.
And secondly, there is now in long-term care, there's a worker, a PSW, that has really taken the time to understand my father. With his aggression, sometimes people have been afraid of him, but this certain PSW, she has chose to understand him rather than fear him, and that has really helped to support me in my dad's care.
That's amazing. So obviously with that, there's also like negative sides to the care system. What would you say that's been a challenge for you in dealing with your parents' care?
I would say that I've never really felt like let down or too challenged, but there has been moments of frustration. And honestly, those come from just all the staffing changes, all the inconsistency, the number of staff that I need to deal with, the turnover. And sometimes there's just varying levels of staff that either know more or can manage in a different way. So often it's their skill sets as well as maybe their attitude or approach. So sometimes that can be frustrating. The number of people that I need to deal with and communicate with can seem daunting.
Right. So maybe like the not always transparency in care is hard.
Yes, because you're dealing with so many people and trying to communicate with that many people, it's hard to know that all of the information is being shared from one person to the next.
Right, for sure. Now, in your navigation with the care system, and since you've been involved with different, I guess, programs and different things within the system for the last 8 or 9 years, has there been a community support or like a program that specifically stood out to you?
I think for sure I can reach back to the lady that was at St. Mary's in the geriatric medicine. She was incredibly supportive, but also I think the name has changed, but it used to be Lynn. So some of these social workers there that have helped me going through the long-term care process, they could see the overwhelming stress that it was causing me to care for both my parents. So they certainly came alongside me to help me navigate the long-term care process, as well as the Alzheimer's Society. Just reaching out, touching back, and making sure that I had support, that I had resources available to me.
That's great. So you see people in the healthcare system daily, and you also get to see people on good days that work in the healthcare system and people that have bad days. So when you see somebody interact with your parents, what do you think compassionate care looks like to you? And what's something that has stood out by a care member that you thought has been very compassionate?
I think for me, compassion comes in engagement and respect of my parents, being present with them, listening, talking, and taking an interest in them, taking time to understand their story. Sometimes it can be easy for workers to get caught up in their day-to-day needs and their physical needs, that maybe the emotional side can get missed. So I think compassionate care for me is taking the time to really engage and respect them. And I've referenced that one other PSW that has stood out to me, and she's taken that time to engage. And I think that's critical.
Yeah, that's great. So just as we close, I just have one last question for you. Is there anything that, if you were to give a new healthcare provider or somebody that's going into the field of nursing advice, is there one piece of advice that you would give them to provide the best care for your parents, or for you to understand that your parents are being taken good care of?
Well, I think it's a partnership, and I think I want them to understand that my parents are exiting this world. So they're at the other end, and these are their final days. And I think it's important to consider every interaction, every time you're providing care, that you have an opportunity to make it that best moment ever for them, because it could be their last moment. And so I'm trusting you as workers with my parents, and look at them and think that you are part of a process and helping them leave this world well.
That's great. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, it's given me good advice going forward in my care. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.